It's okay. Namanda, 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 namanda.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I wish people would squeal in delight when I walk into a room, but I guess that's never going to happen. So, oh, yeah, exactly, right? Silence. That's exactly how my students feel, at least the ones that are awake. Anyway, I'd like to welcome you all for attending today's morning combined Dharma Family and October Shotsuki Memorial Service. Our special guest today is Reverend Dr. Jeff Wilson, who is a professor of religious studies and Eastern Asian studies at the University of Waterloo in Canada. Right. As always, we will begin our service with a moment of quiet sitting. Reverend Kuahara will strike the bell and will sit for 1 or 2 minutes to quiet our minds and prepare to hear the Dharma. Then he will strike the bell again and we will continue with the service.
No. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu.
Reverend Kuahara will now chant the Sambujo, which is on page 23 of the Purple Service Book, followed by the Hyobakumon, or dedication, passage. Following the dedication, Reverend Kuahara will chant Amida Kyo, which is on page 101 of the Purple Service Book. During the chanting, the Shotsuki families are invited to come up and offer incense.
So you can find the Sambujo on page 24, and then there is a brief introduction, explanation page 23. So of course you are very welcome to joining Sutra chanting Sambujo, and then or you can read the English translation silently at the bottom. Dedication. Today, on this occasion of October Shotsuki monthly memorial service, we gather to remember our family members and friends who passed away in the month of October. The end of life is inevitable for all beings. We may recognize the truth of Buddha's teaching that everything in this world is impermanent. And yet, as we grieve the parting of our dear loved ones, we find it difficult to accept this truth in our hearts. With great compassion, Amida Buddha established a vow to lead all sentient beings to the realm of nirvana upon their departure from this world, and bring about their attainment of the highest enlightenment and a complete liberation from suffering. Because of this vow, they have now become enlightened ones, or Buddhas, who compassionately embrace and guide us on our journey to liberation from suffering. May we encounter the guidance of the Buddha and deepen our appreciation of Buddha's compassionate benevolence. May we remember with gratitude all we have received from the deceased and reaffirm that we continue to spiritually receive the guidance within their embrace. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu. So the following people will be remembered during this Shotsuki monthly memorial service for October. Dorothy Ariyoshi, Walter Clough, Jean Meiko Doi, Matsu Fujii, Nancy Sumiko Fukumori, Misao Handa, Reverend Taigan Hata, Tatsuo Hatae, Stephen ヘダニ、ラロリー・タカ・平本、キイチ・平本、実郎・平本、ディーン・平岡、リク・本田、デンマン・本田、ジャック・吉行今田、清井上、アーサー・アキラ岩田、ドリス・マリー・神、ヒロシ・神田、ヒロシ・柏木、聖一・川本、末子・川本、マティュー・上久・クロボリック、茂・久保田、和子・ロング、メリコ・前田、正雄・牧、達代・丸林、アリア・増田、グレイス・増井、栄・増永、フランク・秀美・的場、静江・松本、ハン・前田、登る・ビル・森田、ジュン・森田、ジョン・則吉・村西、リチャード・流田、千代子・中垣、清人・中川、イェイ・中原、ジョン・吉郎・中原、ジェームズ・静雄・中下、レイジ・中曽、妙子・小田、悦子・鬼塚、五太郎・太田、浅見・河内・大山、ジェーン・高子・リコスキー、亀代・佐々木、祐吉・佐々木、敏子・佐々木、良太郎・島田、リマ・竹森、リスケ・竹森、朝・田中、記録・手島、浪江・草場・津田、守る・上田、務上杉、安倍三郎渡村、末信山崎、静江山崎、春山下、和江山下、文横山、ウィリアム清安横山、勝蔵米倉。So today we will observe this monthly memorial service to remember those people with gratitude. Now we would like to have a sutra chanting Amida Kyo on page 101 in the purple service book. So again, you are welcome to join the sutra chanting. And then there is an English translation at the bottom of each page, so you can follow the English translation too. And then family members, friends of the October Shotsuki families, please do incense offering during the sutra chanting. Naman Dautz, Naman Dautz, Naman Dautz, Naman. Buset Amida Kyo 行税が門一時仏在者英国美寿記購読音行大美空主1250人区改税大あらか首相知識長老シャリホトマカモケンレマカカショマカカ千年マカクチラリハタシュリハンダガナンダアナンダラゴラキョボンハダビンズルハラダカルダイマカコヒンナンハクラアヌルダ 如是と初代弟子病床菩薩摩訶薩文殊師利法事愛多菩薩天高大菩薩上昇神菩薩四如是と初代菩薩牛釈大観音と無量昇天大祝二次仏語長老舍利法十世西方果十万の苦仏道右世界妙圧極楽合道右仏語阿弥陀根源在説法舍利法非道が光明意極楽合国修女無宿単樹昇楽光明極楽舍利法極楽国土七十乱十七十羅網七十五十海税司法主総医尿税公被告妙圧極楽舍利法極楽国土牛ポチ悪毒水十万五中地帯順に根社富士四辺街道金言瑠璃あり五条上右老各薬医金言瑠璃あり社交釈主名の二言直視地中蓮華大尿車輪小式小古大式陽光釈式釈光白式白光微妙光景舍利法極楽国土上十尿税功徳称言舍利法非仏国土上沙天外黄金二次昼夜六時二右曼荼羅家五国修女上位昇誕各位英国上昇妙家供養他方十万の苦仏即位直次元等本国本直教行舍利法極楽国土上十尿税功徳称言武士舍利法非国上右修十奇妙雑式市長白光空弱オウム舍下領便が愚名市長税商州長昼夜六時水和下音五音年長五根五力七宝大分八正道分尿税東方合同修女門税鬼開失念仏年法年祖舍利法尿物医師長実税財法少々小医者が非仏国土無三幕主舍利法合仏国土小無三幕道司明が教宇治税商州長海税阿弥陀仏欲両方温泉流変化少佐舍利法非仏国土未風水道小法五十牛法羅網水未明二尿百千十学同時空差門税王者開示年上念仏年法年相死神舍利法合仏国土上十尿税功徳称言舍利法お如意運が非仏が古語阿弥陀舍利法非仏光明無量生寺報国 無償生下税皇后意阿弥陀ウシャリホ異仏寿命牛五人民無量無辺な葬儀故光明阿弥陀シャリホ阿弥陀仏成仏以来王根自公ウシャリホ非仏無量無辺正門弟子海あらかん非税三十師匠の地消防殺衆薬部尿税シャリホン非仏国土上寿尿税功徳称号ウシャリホン極楽国土修上昇者海税阿弥バチご中他う一生不生ご主人他非税三十章の知識単海無量無辺阿葬儀公摂者利本修上門者応答本願願消費国消費者が特用尿税症状善人空営一生者利本不可以小前福徳因縁徳消費国者利本脈善難し善用人門説阿弥陀仏主持名脈一日脈二日脈三日脈四日脈五日脈六日脈七日一心不乱言人臨妙十字阿弥陀仏幼少修上現在午前善人修持神父天道即徳往生阿弥陀仏極楽国土舍利本崖税理公正死言脈修上門税摂者応答本願消費国土舍利本名が根者三段阿弥陀仏不可思議功徳逃亡薬阿宿美仏趣味相大趣味仏趣味公仏妙音仏妙税と合賀者主小仏各王合国水工上絶素偏風三千大先生海戦上実言尿等修上等身税小三不可思議功徳一切小正五年行舍利本南方正海無日が当仏妙門公仏大円見仏趣味当仏無料精進仏尿税等合賀者小仏各王合国水工上絶相偏風三千大先生海戦上実言尿等修上等身税小不可思議功徳一切小仏正五年行舍利本西方世無量寿仏無量寿仏無量道仏大公仏大名仏発想仏上皇仏尿税等合賀者主小仏各王合語水工上絶相偏風三千大先生戦上実言尿等修上等身税小三不可思議功徳一切小仏正五年行舍利本北方世無縁見仏最小音仏南小仏日小仏無明仏尿税合賀者主小仏各王合国水工上絶相偏風三大先生海戦上実言尿等修上等身税小三不可思議功徳一切小仏正五年行舍利本下方世無視死仏妙門仏妙公仏達摩仏報道仏自法仏尿税 五が社種小仏各王合国水工上絶相天風三千大先生会戦場実語妙等修上等身税小三不可思議空洞一切小仏小五年行シャリホン情報性ウボンの仏宿の仏工場仏高校仏大円見仏雑式法形言神仏サラ十王仏法形特仏天一切義仏妙趣味千仏妙税等五が社種小各王合国水工上絶相偏風三千大先生会戦場実言妙等修上等身税小不可思議空毒一切小仏小五年行シャリホン王如意運が羅光明意一切小仏小五年行シャリホン薬善難死善用にもぜ小仏小説妙牛行妙者聖小善難死善用に会一切小仏具小五海徳不大天皇あのくたら三脈三宝大成功シャリホン尿と海東真珠が五牛小武小生シャリホン薬人異発願根発願東発玉小阿弥陀仏国者税小人海徳不大天皇あのくたら三脈三宝大王妃国土脈意小脈根性脈東小税公シャリホ小善難死善用人脈信者応答本願消費国土シャリホ尿が根者小三小仏不可思議空毒非小仏と百小説が不可思議空毒二差前後釈迦牟尼仏の偉人南慶右師寺のシャバ国土五辱悪公辱権辱煩悩辱修上辱妙辱中徳あのくたら三脈三宝異小修上節税一切政権南進司法シャリホン統治が王五辱悪性行師難事徳あのくたら三脈三宝大一切政権摂氏南進司税人南仏世司教医シャリホン牛小ビク一切世権にアシュラと文部諸説寛義真珠さらいにこう仏説阿弥陀経アマンダブアマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブガンニシクドク平等聖祭道法菩大心往生安楽 Namandavts, 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 namandavts.
Thank you. Please rise if you are able to follow along with the Gatha Arigato, which is on the handout. Please remain standing for the reading of Three Treasures 1. Three Treasures 1. Hard is it to be born into human life. Now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the teachings of the Blessed One. Now we hear it. If we do not realize the truth in this life, when will it be realized? Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in the Buddha. May we absorb ourselves in the principle of the way to enlightenment and awaken in ourselves the supreme will. I take refuge in the Dharma. May we be submerged in the depths of the doctrine and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in the Sangha. May we live in harmony in the great assembly as disciples of Buddha and be freed from all hindrances, becoming units of true accord in the life of harmony in a spirit of universal oneness, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through myriad ages of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of Tathagata's teachings. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Now we will have a children's Dharma message by Reverend Dr. Wilson.
Okay, so before we have a speaker at the podium, let me briefly introduce Jeff Sensei. Although Art-san already briefly mentioned who Jeff Sensei is. So Reverend Dr. Jeff Wilson is a professor of religious studies and Eastern Asian studies at Leninson. And the University College and the University of Waterloo in Ontario, Canada. So today our speaker is from Canada, all the way. Actually, yesterday we had an event, and then he was one of the speakers for that event. So we had an event focusing on the SDGs. So United Nations are pushing this sustainable development goals. So for so many issues on this earth, right? So that's why United Nations, they took a leadership to work on those issues. And then one of them is gender equality. So Jeff Sensei was one of the 3 speakers yesterday. And then since he's in town, and then he's a wonderful scholar, and then Jodo Shinshu priest. And then maybe some of you have read his book, Buddhism of the Heart. It's a yellow book. Yeah, it's a nice book. And then since a recent book just published?
Yeah, this year.
So he had another book. What's the title?
It's Living Nimbutsu.
Living Nembutsu, another publication by Jeff Sensei. So anyway, we are so lucky to have Jeff Sensei today. And then, I hope you will listen Jeff Sensei's Dharma message for Dharma school students. Okay.
So, good morning. Wonderful to be here with you. For my Dharma school message, I thought that I would just tell a story that I told in my book, Buddhism of the Heart. Maybe people here have heard it before, I don't know, but it's always fun to tell a story and to listen to a story, so I'll go ahead with it anyways. This is an old Chinese parable. And in the story, there's a man, and he's traveling across the landscape. He's traveling through a field, and suddenly he encounters a tiger. So he does what you usually do when you encounter a tiger, which maybe these days might be to start streaming to your social media or something. But this is in the old days, so he doesn't do that. People were a little wiser back then. Instead, he starts running away, right? So he flees, and the tiger's chasing him. It's close behind him. I never thought about this before, but in this story, he managed to, at least at the beginning of the story, to outrun the tiger. So that's how we know it's a parable. Anyways, if the tiger chased me, I would be tiger lunch. I would not outrun the tiger. But he runs. He's so scared. He runs fast enough. He runs away from the tiger, but tiger's chasing him, and it's closing in on him and everything. And he runs, and he comes to a precipice. There's a cliff there. So things are looking bad. Tiger's coming, and he can't go any further. But he looks, and he bends down, and he catches hold of the root of a wild vine, and he swings himself down over the edge of the cliff, and he lowers himself down some ways. So this is another part of the story where we know it's a parable, because again, if it were me, I would grab onto the root, and I would jump over, and the root would immediately pull out, because I'm not as svelte as I used to be, which I never was, honestly, and I would fall to my death. So anyways, but he, in the story, managed to swing over and climb down a little bit, and he gets kind of like halfway down the cliff, and he looks up, and it's a big cliff, but he looks up there, and the tiger's up there sniffing down at him. So, he cannot go back up. Death is waiting for him at the top. And, he's all trembling. So then, he's way up high, but he looks down, and way down far below him at the bottom of the cliff, he sees another tiger. So there's another tiger down there, and it's looking up, licking his chops, right, just with its mouth open, just waiting for him to just drop in there. So, oh no, he can't go back up the cliff. He can't go down the vine any further. This is really bad. Only that vine is sustaining his life. How long can he hold on? But it gets worse. So then he notices that there are two mice that are there above him, like on the cliffside, and little by little, they're gnawing away at the vine. So it's getting worse and worse for him. But just at that moment, he's looking at the cliff face in front of him, and he notices, there's a luscious strawberry growing from the side of the cliff. And when I first heard this story, I wondered, is this like something? Because I read this in English in a book, and I thought, is this really something that is real, or has it been kind of translated into North American? I was like, do strawberries grow in China? Right? I'm used to seeing them here in North America, but do they have wild strawberries? So I looked it up. They do have wild strawberries. Thank goodness, because otherwise my whole world was going to be shook. But so it is a true story, true parable anyways. So he sees the luscious strawberry right at this moment when he's got tigers above him, tigers below him, cliff, and mice are eating through his vine. He's going to fall. But he sees this strawberry, and he grasps the vine with one hand, and he reaches out, and he plucks that strawberry, and he pops it in his mouth. How sweet it tastes. Yeah, that's the whole story. So it's a cliffhanger. Ends on a cliffhanger. We never know. Thank you to the ancient Chinese who have kept us hanging on that vine for a couple thousand years at this point. We have no idea what happened after this. Okay, you'll have to fill that in for yourself in Tiger and Strawberry Part 2, The Revenge. I don't know. So anyways, I like to tell this story because it's full of drama, right? You've got tigers and a cliff and danger and all this sort of stuff. And I'm afraid of heights, so it gets my blood pumping just to think about this. And I guess I'd be afraid of tigers if I ever actually met one. So this story grabs my attention. Once upon a time, we didn't have movies and the internet and so on to entertain us. So we just told each other interesting stories like this. But these old stories, they're not just for entertainment to fill the time while we were waiting for people to invent Netflix, right? They usually have some sort of lesson, and they're supposed to make us think. So, I wonder what the point of the story is beyond just being fun to listen to. Does anybody have any ideas? What might it be? Yeah, go for it, please.
I think things in life are transient, and that includes our life itself. Oftentimes we'll be stuck in places where we have to endure a lot of suffering, and we're uncertain about what's going to happen. And what we should do in that present moment is appreciate the things that are actually there for us and enjoy the sweetness that they bring.
Very good. This is an excellent possibility. I love this interpretation. Any other possible interpretations we may have of the story? No? Okay. All right. So thank you. I've heard different ideas about the story because indeed they just told the story and just left us hanging on the cliff, and it's left for us to try to think for ourselves for what this could mean, right? Just as you did and offered us this explanation here. So, of course, in my research, I've looked to see, how have various people in East Asia interpreted this story over time? One suggestion is that it's about how dumb this guy is. He's about to die if he doesn't do anything, so he should stop wasting his time on strawberries and figure out a way to escape. This is an explanation that I have heard, right? I wonder if anybody has any ideas for how he might get out of this. I don't know. I would definitely die in this situation. So another suggestion is, quite similar to what you said. So he's going to get eaten by a tiger. So he may as well enjoy the strawberry, while he is here, while it exists as a possibility for him. So that's another possibility, right? Maybe another interpretation is, don't go walking in fields unless you have your tiger spray with you. I don't know. There's many different ways that we could try to figure this out. So it's interesting how the same story might have very different meanings to different people. And we can ask ourselves, why do people react differently to the same story? It's the same story, and yet you can draw out different possible interpretations. So this probably has something to do with how people have different experiences in their life and with their different personalities. So maybe there's not one right, correct way to understand this sort of story. Maybe the different people interpret it each in a way that made sense to them in their own lives. So this means that maybe if somebody interprets a story that's in a way that's different from us, maybe their interpretation isn't necessarily wrong, but maybe we should listen to what they have to say and think it over for ourselves. Maybe we'll change our minds after we hear their interpretation and decide that actually we like that or we learned something from that, right? But even if we don't change our minds, even if we still feel that, yeah, our interpretation still really makes sense for ourselves, when we accept that their interpretation makes sense for them because of their experiences in life, then we can learn something about other people, and we also can reflect upon our own ideas and stories. So anyway, by saying all of this, it means that today I've basically given you two presents. First, I'm giving you the story so that you can enjoy it, right? But second, I'm not giving you the answer about what it means. I'm not up here saying, well, this is the right way to interpret it, right? So therefore, you can go through the process of thinking about it for yourself. Sometimes not giving something can itself be like a type of present. And now, because you've received it, you can give this present to someone else. You can tell this story to your friends or a family member or someone like that. It's a fun story to tell. You can make it very dramatic if you want, roar like a tiger, climb over the cliff, to however you want to do, right? And then you can ask them what they think it means when he eats the strawberry. You might learn something very interesting by talking it over with other people. So these are my gifts this morning anyways to everybody. I gave you a tiger, a strawberry, some mice, all that sort of good stuff. So thank you for listening patiently to my brief children's Dharma talk. Namadas.
Thank you, Sensei, for those gifts. When I retell the story, obviously the only changes I would make is that instead of tigers, they'll either be trees or Trojans. Some of you didn't get that. It's okay. Wait for it. Or should I say sun devils? Anyway. Thank you, Sensei. Please rise if you are able to follow along with the Gatha Ondoku-san 2, which is on page 220 of the purple service book. Now we'd like to welcome the following new guests to our temple today. So once I call their name, if they would like to, please rise and be acknowledged by our Sangha. Kylie. Ellen and Andrew. Emily. And Sean. Thank you. Hope to see you again. Next time it'll be much more straightforward. We will now read the announcements that have been submitted. We will have online meditation and discussion on Wednesday, October 4th, starting at 7 p.m. Please sign up with the link that is on our website. Right? Also have a BBT Dharmanar, a monthly online study session on Thursday, October 26th at 6:30. The topic is Heart Sutra. Likewise, also please sign up through our website for that as well. In athletic news, we will have the BBT miniature golf outing on November 4th on Saturday. Right? Not quite the Ryder's Cup, but just as good. From 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Subpar Miniature Golf on Park Street in Alameda. There are 3 slots available for golf players. Is that 3 slots left, or is that just only 3 people are going? Oh, I was going to say, that's going to be quite the small stakes there. If you are interested, please contact John Kawamoto at, that's a long, johnkawamoto@gmail.com by October 15th. Right. The cost for the 3 hours of golf and arcade games will be around $25 to $30, and we meet for a post-game pizza a couple blocks away at Star on the Park. Jodo Shinshu Center parking will be available next Sunday, October 8th. The gate will open at 9 a.m. and close at 9:30 a.m. sharp. Please arrive during that hour to take advantage of the JSC parking for the Sunday service. Now, are there any other announcements, requests? Jodo Shinshu, I'm sorry. Now the students will be dismissed to their classes. With Dharma students, please go to the front, Oshoko, and go to the classroom. All others are invited to remain for the adult Dharma talk. We will now have the adult Dharma talk by Reverend Dr. Wilson.
Thank you very much for that introduction. Thank you, everybody, for staying and not fleeing after my first story. I want to begin today with a short passage from Shinran Shonin's Kyogyo Shinsho, Chapter 3. Would you please bow your heads and listen closely here? These are Shinran Shonin's words. When the Tathagata, in profound compassion for the ocean of all sentient beings in pain and affliction, performed bodhisattva practices for inconceivable millions of measureless kalpas, there was not a moment, not an instant, when that practice in the three modes of action was not pure or lacked this true mind. With this true, pure mind, the Tathagata brought to fulfillment the perfect, unhindered, inconceivable, indescribable, and inexplicable supreme virtues. The Tathagata gives this sincere mind to all living beings, an ocean of beings possessed of blind passions, karmic evil, and false wisdom. This mind manifests the true mind of benefiting others. For this reason, it is completely untainted by the hindrance of doubt. This sincere mind takes as its essence the nimbutsu of supreme virtues. Namanats. So, good morning once again. It's a pleasure to be with you all. Very occasionally, very occasionally, I've attended services here at the temple when I've been in town for events at the Jodo Shinshu Center or the Institute of Buddhist Studies. Plus, sometimes I watch your services on Facebook. I live in Canada in the Eastern time zone. So if I don't get up and drive all the way into Toronto to participate in their services, then I can watch them at my computer at 11 o'clock, which is 8 o'clock here. And then when that's over around 12 o'clock or so, I can get some lunch. And if I feel like hearing another Dharma talk, then I can watch the Berkeley service, which begins around 12:30 for me. So, therefore, I've sometimes been spying on you all from Canada. Yeah, beware. Probably you felt my eyeballs over the screen. So I appreciate the opportunity to encounter the Dharma which you provide by broadcasting your services. That's lovely. But I've never had the privilege of speaking for a service here. So thank you very much for the invitation and for your presence here today. Before I begin, there's an important thing that I need to get out of the way, and that is, coming from Eastern Canada, I have no idea why you would be afraid of a tree. Could someone explain that to me? I got the Trojan reference, but what's with the tree? Stanford? What are they? They're trees? They're literal trees? They're the Stanford tree? This is a type of tree? Like an evergreen or a...
They changed it because their original name was Indians.
Well, good. I'm glad they became the trees.
Stanford, they came up with the tree.
The tree. They're literally just the Stanford. Like people are like, go trees. Like, okay.
You also use cardinal because they're red.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. I mean, Trojans I can understand, right? They're warriors and what all. Bears, I can understand that. Trees?
The forest marked, the soldiers march as trees.
Well, that's true. Is that what they're talking? Is that really? It's from that?
Well,
No, it's just Stanford. You gotta understand, it's just...
I don't know. That might be an explanation afterwards when people are like, why are we trees? Yes, it's because of the army.
cut them down with the axe.
Yeah, very good.
No bears.
Is there anybody here who's like a Stanford fan? Went to Stanford? Okay, good. Then I can just say, still, I'm sorry, what is trees? Okay, all right. I love trees, but like, I'm not like, scared of like the trees, in the way that like a tiger or a bear or something would be. Okay, all right. Thank you for the explanation. I'm sure they're very fearsome on the field anyways. So, all right, thank you very much. Another thing that I note also, I am going to give a Dharma talk, but, it's really interesting. I have the great privilege of being able to speak at many different temples, so I get to experience all the different styles. There's a lot that's similar about a service anywhere you go, But at the same time, every single temple is unique. It has its own differences, its own style, this sort of thing. And so something that's interesting for me today is that in Toronto, we no longer burn the incense. So it's nice to smell the incense again, something I don't usually have the privilege of doing so. Also in Toronto, more recently, we've stopped singing gathas. We stopped during the pandemic. We were all closed. We had very strict laws in Toronto about what you could and couldn't do, even when we had partial reopening and everything. And so people, the congregation couldn't participate, very unfortunately. Only the ministers sitting on the Nijing, we were the only ones who were allowed to speak or chant or sing under the municipal rules during the lockdown, which was a very long period for us. 2 years-ish in Canada, in my part anyway. So we got out, so we couldn't sing the gathas because it's okay if we chant and people listen, but if we have to sing the hymns and everybody just listens, like, that's a recipe for disaster, especially me. People talk about how, oh, he's got a face for radio. This old joke, right? Shouldn't be an actor because he's, not that handsome. So, yeah, should be on the radio. I've got a voice for, like, print. So, for me, I miss the gathas, but also it's, kind of a blessing in some ways. So, anyways, but it was very nice, actual gathas here and actual incense and everything. How nice for me. So. All right, and with that long, rambling, totally irrelevant introduction, let's move on to our Dharma talk. As part of my talk, I want to tell you about an interesting and important book which I read. This book is called Braiding Sweetgrass. Perhaps some people know this book. I see some nodding. That's wonderful. Braiding Sweetgrass. The subtitle is Indigenous Wisdom, Scientific Knowledge, and the Teachings of Plants. Well, we talked about trees, but we don't need to learn anything from Stanford. These are other plants that the author is talking about. The author, in fact, is Robin Wall Kimmerer, and she's an indigenous author, a botanist, and a professor at the State University of New York. And in her book, Braiding Sweetgrass, she recalls her childhood growing up in upstate New York. So that's not too far from where I live. And there she wandered in the fields, and she would find wild strawberries. This was a favorite activity of hers as a child. They're sweet, and also they provided opportunities for her to make strawberry shortcake for her father's birthday. And that gift was important to her, right? Because for her, these strawberries, they are a gift. They're not just a gift that she's giving to her father, but rather the strawberries are a gift from the land. This is her indigenous perspective on this, right? So she receives this gift from the land, and then she's able to make strawberry shortcake, which was her dad's favorite dessert. And this is really good they were able to do this because the family was so poor that they couldn't afford store-bought gifts. The only gifts that they could give were those that they gathered from the generosity of the land, right? And Dr. Kimmerer, in her book, she contrasts these wild strawberries with the farm-grown ones that she and her siblings would pick for a dime a quart over at Mrs. Crandall's farm. She was a lady who lived nearby. And then Mrs. Crandall would sell these strawberries that they picked for 60 cents a quart. Which doesn't sound that much to us now, but was a good bit of money back then. In fact, if she wanted to buy one of those quarts, those strawberries would have cost nearly her whole wages in the first place. And to her, she said that they would not taste as sweet as these wild strawberries. So Dr. Kimmerer points out that the nature of a thing is changed based on whether it comes into your hands as a gift or as a commodity. So, for example, socks that you simply buy from the store, you go to the mall and, so many socks, and all socks are just all the same as all other socks, and finally you grab one random pair, off of the rack and this sort of thing. When you buy them from a store in this manner, they lose the sense of relationship or obligation that you might have in this situation at the moment of sale. But socks that your grandmother knits for you and then gives to you as a gift on your birthday or Christmas or something like this, these socks create an ongoing relationship. Every time you wear those socks, which you should do every time grandma comes over, right? Every time you wear those socks, your bond with your grandmother becomes a little stronger. Even if she's not there when you put the socks on, that bond becomes stronger. So Dr. Kimmer actually says that she would be offended if she saw wild strawberries being sold in the store, right? They weren't meant to be sold. They were only meant to be given. That's her understanding of this. So why am I bringing this up? I think it can illuminate something about Buddhism, because this is the way of the Nembutsu as well. The Nembutsu, since we have some visitors, the Nembutsu is the saying of Namo Amida Butsu. You'll have heard us say Namo Amida Butsu multiple times during the service. And this practice of Nembutsu is one of the central aspects of Jodo Shinshu, the form of Pure Land Buddhism that we practice here at this temple. So this is the way of the Nembutsu, I want to argue. I've been disturbed by the commodification of Buddhist meditation, for example. It's something that's sacred that then gets patented and sold to us via mindfulness apps on our phones in order to generate a profit for other people, right? Thankfully, very thankfully, the Nembutsu cannot be commodified. And this is because the Nembutsu is only and always a gift. Let's recall our opening passage from Shinran, which I read before I went on long tangents about trees and Stanford and all that sort of thing, right? He says, the Tathagata, this is a term for Amida Buddha, the Buddha of our tradition here, in his causal stage as Dharmakara Bodhisattva. The Tathagata, in profound compassion for the ocean of all sentient beings in pain and affliction, that's us ordinary people who struggle and suffer throughout our lives in various ways. The Tathagata, quote, performed bodhisattva practices for inconceivable millions of measureless kalpas. Kalpa is a long, long period of time. And furthermore, Shinran says that, quote, the Tathagata gives this sincere mind. And the sincere mind here, this is an aspect of shinjin, the trusting mind or trusting heart. He says, the Tathagata gives this sincere mind to all living beings, an ocean of beings possessed of blind passions, karmic evil, and false wisdom. This mind manifests the true mind of benefiting others. For this reason, it's completely untainted by the hindrance of doubt. This sincere mind, this mind of Shinjin that we receive from the Buddha, takes as its essence the Nembutsu. In the Kyogyo Shinsho translation and the collected works of Shinran, it literally says the revered name, but that's just the Nembutsu. So it's another way of saying the Nembutsu here. So what we learn from this and from Shinran's teachings in general is that, we do not earn Shinjin or entrance into the Pure Land by saying the Nembutsu. The Nembutsu, the Pure Land, our liberation, these are all gifts. Gifts that Amida Buddha provides us purely for our own benefit, out of sheer love and compassion. This is why we sometimes say that we have no practice in Shin Buddhism. It's the Buddha who accomplishes the path and then freely gives us the fruit of that effort. Thus, the practice belongs to the Buddha, while the fruit of that practice is given to us. And this contrasts with other forms of Buddhism, where one, basically you could say, sort of buys awakening through their hard work, or in some cases, literally through their financial donations. For us, liberation is only a gift. The Nembutsu is only a beautiful, heartfelt gift from the Buddha's heart to our heart. And we should cherish it precisely because it's a free gift, and therefore it's priceless. In a world full of cheap junk and overpriced commodities, where we have to live in a system of ever ongoing labor, such gifts as this, these are rare and precious. But there's more to gifts than just the reception. Dr. Kimmerer writes in Braiding Sweetgrass that, quote, gifts from the earth or from each other establish a particular relationship, an obligation of sorts to give, to receive, to reciprocate. The field gave to us, gave the strawberry, right? We gave to our dad, and we tried to give back to the strawberry. So here she indicates that receiving a gift creates a relationship, and this produces an obligation. Receiving wild strawberries from the land, she's drawn closer to the natural world that is supporting her, and she feels obligated to take care of the soil, the rain, the air, and other things that the strawberry plant needs to survive. And for us too, the gift of liberation establishes a caring relationship with Amida Buddha and prompts a feeling of indebtedness. As we recognize our indebtedness, we show our appreciation by saying the Nimbutsu. And we also show it by teaching the Dharma to others and by doing what we can to reduce suffering in the world, which is what the Buddha wishes. Buddhism is a system designed to reduce suffering, to understand suffering, and understand how to reduce it and improve the world in this way. Dr. Kimmerer writes, quote, this is the fundamental nature of gifts. They move, and their value increases with their passage. The fields made a gift of berries to us, and we made a gift of them to our Father. The more something is shared, the greater its value becomes. And again, this is freely shared rather than a sort of mercantile exchange. This is also the way of the Dharma, which increases in value the more it's shared with others, and thus offers more freedom from suffering to more people. This morning, I offered the story of the tiger and the strawberry. They're in the Dharma school talk, right? And that's a gift that I received nearly 30 years ago in another century. It sounds very dramatic when I put it that way, right? I received that gift originally from a book called Zen Bones and Flesh, although I've encountered it many other places since then. Dr. Kimmerer says that, quote, our human relationship with strawberries is transformed by a choice of perspective. It is human perspective that makes the world a gift. When we view the world this way, strawberries and humans alike are transformed. The relationship of gratitude and reciprocity thus developed can increase the evolutionary fitness of both plant and animal. And, again, she's a scientist, so we can see her approach here. A species and a culture that treat the natural world with respect and reciprocity will surely pass on genes to ensuing generations with a higher frequency than the people who destroy it. The stories we choose to shape our behaviors have adaptive consequences. So she's using a sort of scientific language to talk about this, but again, this is her indigenous perspective around stories, around the power of stories, and around gifts and the nature of gifts. Dr. Kimmerer teaches us that there's a power in transforming our perspective. That's what she's saying in that paragraph I just read. And I think that that's at the heart of the story of the tiger and the strawberry. Right? When the man notices the strawberry, he's able to experience sweetness, even in the suffering world. It shouldn't surprise us that a Buddhist story carries a potential interpretation like this, because Buddhism is primarily about transforming our perspective. We suffer because of our misguided perspectives, which focus single-mindedly on ourselves, judging everything in terms of possible gain or loss to ourself. And this overlooks that this self is actually a kind of fiction, and one which is mired in greed, anger, and ignorance. But the light of the Buddha's wisdom illuminates our lives and makes possible another perspective, a transformation of perspective. It's a point of view that sees how interconnected we are with others and how reduction of self-clinging reduces our suffering, actually. So, at the heart of Dr. Kimmer's approach to life is the power of stories. And this is something I've been fortunate to encounter in other indigenous writings that I've read as well. So these stories, the power of these stories, these are the tools that create the possibilities for new life-giving perspectives. And this is why the story of the Pure Land matters. It's a gift from the Buddha, from the masters of the tradition, from previous generations of ordinary men and women and others who've passed it down to us. When we live our lives in accord with the story of the Pure Land, we're enabled to become aware of the gifts that we receive in each moment. And if our perspective is transformed into one of gratitude and appreciation, the burdens of our lives ease and thankfulness spills out as Namo Amida Butsu, this Nimbutsu. So I'm grateful to Robin Wall Kimmerer for showing me the meaning of gifts in her culture, and thus allowing me to reflect on the Buddha's gifts in our lives. And I'm grateful to you all for listening to my Dharma talk this morning, and therefore giving me a chance to continue passing on that wonderful Dharma that's been gifted to us from the past, so that we can be happier and more at peace today. So thank you all for listening this morning. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.
Thank you, Sensei. ありがとうございました for your Dharma message. So, Reverend Jeff will stay for our social hour at the social hall. So you can, talk to him and then talk about the tiger, tree, whatever. You can continue dialogue with him. So before I say thank you to those who have made today's service possible, I'd like to present this new member's gift to how to pronounce your name? Antoine. Okay. Yeah, so Antoine came to our service last week, and then immediately he filled out a membership form. So I'd like to present this new member, packet to him. So if you can please. Okay. Yeah, it's nice to have a new member. We're always welcome. Arigato. So now I'd like to say thank you to Art-san for being a wonderful chairperson today. Arigato. Thank you, Art. And then thank you the live streaming team for your help during today's live streaming service. Arigato gozaimashita. Thank you. And then thank you, Emiko-san, for playing a beautiful piano. Arigatou gozaimashita. Thank you. And then thank you, October monthly group, Toban, for helping today's refreshment at the social hall after the service. Thank you very much. And then thank you, Dharma School teachers, Dharma School students, for having a wonderful Dharma School up there. Thank you. And then, of course, today's special guest, Jeff Wilson Sensei. Thank you very much for being with us from Canada, all the way from Canada, sharing the Dharma. Arigatou gozaimashita. Thank you. So this concludes today's service. Thank you, everyone who joined the service today in person and virtually. Arigatou gozaimashita. Namanda butsu, namanda butsu, namanda butsu.